Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's video and spending some time with me. And guys, today we're going to be talking about the greatest co-angler in the history of bass fishing, and also what makes a great co-angler. Because I think this is something that needs to be talked about a little bit. There's a lot of people interested in co-angling, you know, always has been. And I can give you guys some tips and advice on how to be successful as a co-angler and how to maximize your experience. But I want to really talk about who I think was the greatest co-angler of all time, and you know, get you guys lined out on how to have some success as a co-angler. Also, guys, quick reminder, Tackle Warehouse has got a bunch of good summer sales on their lures going on right now. If you guys want to get stocked up for summer, now's the time to do it. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description here. If you guys use and mark that link there, you can order anything from that link. Good way to support the channel. And also, guys, anyone interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, you can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, and just shoot me a private message. So I really appreciate that. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about first what makes a great co-angler, and then we're going to talk about the best co-angler that has ever fished tournaments before. First of all, you have to set your expectations correctly. If you want to be a co-angler in tournaments, and I think I can speak to this, you know, pretty, you know, with a great deal of detail, because I probably fished with well over 1,000 co-anglers in the course of my career, fishing, you know, 600-700 tournaments. I've definitely been fishing with over 1,000 co-anglers, and I've seen what makes anglers successful and, you know, what really has good experience. So the first thing that you have to do, guys, is get past the fact that you're there to compete. You're there to learn. If you want to maximize your experience as a co-angler, go into that tournament and just use it as a learning experience, and don't really focus on the result of the tournament in terms of your performance. If you go into it to be like a sponge for information, the money that you spend as a co-angler is going to come back to you 100-fold from the experience that you get at it from your boater or your pro partner. Because here's one piece of advice I can give you guys, that if you want to have the best experience as a co-angler ever, first thing you say to your co-angler when you talk to them, say, look, you know, I'm here to learn. You know, I'm going to stay out of your way. I'm not going to get in your way. I'm not going to, you know, rush you. I'm not going to cast over your line. I'm going to do my own deal. I'm going to watch, and I want to learn. Guys, if you disarm your pro partner by saying that, I can promise you he's going to bend over backwards to help you. He's going to give you baits. He's going to position the boat good for you. You're going to have a great day just by the fact that he is relieved that you're not going to be somebody back there that is a deterrent to him catching fish. That is the number one thing. Just remember that. So by doing that, it's like everything that happens during the course of that day is going to benefit you in the long run. So here's some things that you can do also. It's like when you're fishing with your pro partner out there, just fish the water that you have to fish. That old saying about do not cast past the middle of the boat, that is so true, because guys, I fished with 5 different co-anglers throughout my career that have won the tournament out of the back of my boat. And you know the common thread amongst all of those co-anglers? I didn't even know they were back there. They're doing their own thing. They're casting out the back of the boat. They're not worrying about what I'm doing, and they catch fish. And I'm catching fish. I'm not having to worry about them. They're not having to worry about me. They're catching fish with that. Another thing to remember, guys, it's all about angle. If, for example, you have a boater that's like throwing a crankbait down a rocky bank or a riprap bank, don't try to cast up in front of him or in front of the boat. You're never going to get a bite doing that. You don't have the angle. If you're tight to the bank, if you get in one of those situations where you're tight to the bank, just cast straight behind the boat, because you're getting the same angle as your pro from a different angle. And tell them, say, look, you know, I'm not going to cast up in front of the boat. I'm going to cast behind the boat. Do you mind if I get hung up to go get my lure? And I tell them that. I said, if you're casting behind the boat and you get hung up, I have no problem going back every single time to get your bait. That's the way that you want to approach it, and try to use something that your pro partner's not using. That's a really, really big deal with it. Okay, so that's going to help you a lot, you know, as far as your success and your experience overall. Now, the best co-angler I have ever fished with in my life was an angler named Frank Divis. All you guys that have fished the FLW Tour, the old FLW Tour, you've heard of Frank Divis. He was, you know, I think he was the all-time leading money winner in the FLW as a co-angler, or if not, he was right there at the top. He won several tournaments, and I practiced with Frank quite a bit. He was not only I drew him as a co-angler, but he also practiced with me sometime. And Frank, the reason that he was so great and he dominated on the co-angler side for so many years is, I don't care where we were fishing at, he threw behind the boat. Most of the time he'd throw a football head jig, sometime a Texas rig or something like that. But Frank had developed a technique where he fished completely out of the back of the boat, you know, behind the motor, because he understood the benefit of having the correct casting angle. It didn't bother him that the boat had just ran over it, or the guy had just fished through there. He understood the importance of casting angle. And most co-anglers that I fish with do not understand casting angle. And that's why they have it in their mind that they want to try to cast up in front of the boat all the time, you know, and it just doesn't work. And one other thing I'm gonna tell you about this, guys, you know, like I said, my biggest advice is cast behind the boat, but don't ever rush your pro partner. If your pro partner has say there's a brush pile in the water that's sticking out of the water, don't let your pro pitch in there one time and you're pitching in there 3 foot away from him in the same brush pile. Let him break down that pile, and if he wants to make 100 casts to it, let him make 100 casts to it before you cast into it. That is the etiquette of fishing as a co-angler. And overall, if you do these things, if you disarm your pro and say, I'm not going to get in your way, I'm not going to cast over you, you know, I'm not going to do anything to hamper you catching fish, like I said, your pro partner is going to help you out in ways you'll never help me. But if I get somebody like that, guys, they're welcome to the baits I have. I'm gonna talk to them about fishing. I'm gonna coach them. I'm gonna do everything I can to help them. But if I get some dude that tries to outfish me, or tries to push me, or tries to cast over me, or tries to rush me in my fishing day, it's gonna be a bad day for them. That's not the way it works. So it's all about your attitude. It's all about your perspective. And if you have a problem with that, then pay your money to fish a boater, fish on the boater side. But you know, if you want to be a co-angler, guys, I can assure you, I've seen the successful ones, and I've seen the ones that struggle and have a bad time at it. And if you focus on fishing your water, fishing out the back of the boat, your experience and your success as a co-angler is going to go through the roof. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out, and we'll check in later. See you.